Howdy, boys and girls, and welcome back to Week 6 of your 2014 college football season, and, appropriately enough, Week 6 of the Carla and Crappy Show. I'm Crappy, up here in Pittsburgh. That's Carla, down there in Nashville. Hi, Carla.
Hi, Crappy.
How you doing?
How are you? I'm glad to see that we've both donned our blackout gear. I see. Oh, nice. I've got black and white on. I'll be decked out in full pirate gear, I think, for class this week. But
okay, that works. I got black stuff I'm going to wear for the baseball tomorrow. That's what we were actually taping this a day early because of the Pittsburgh Pirates baseball game, which we would both like to be able to watch uninterrupted. But of course,
silly us.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
Priorities.
Yeah. We've grumbled, especially in the last couple of weeks, about maybe the quality of college football games we're trying to pick. There is none of that this week at all. Games we are not picking. Games that we are not picking include number 6 Texas A&M at number 12 Mississippi State, or number 15 LSU at number 5 Auburn. We're not picking those games. Those games aren't good enough for week number 6 of the Carla and Crappy Show. You know what? One of the games that is good enough, we have number 3 Alabama visiting number 11 Ole Miss. Bama is a 4.5-point favorite on the road. Man, this is going to be it's a fun Saturday all the way around. But this will be a good way to start. Carla, what do you see with this one?
Especially with Vern on the call.
Yeah.
Uncle Vern. Gotta love that. See the 3:30 CBS game. We've got Uncle Vern on the call. This will be epic one way or the other. Gosh, you look at this, and statistically, Ole Miss has the best defense in the SEC. Lane Kiffin has come in as offensive coordinator, and I know that's kind of, that was the big deal in the offseason, but he's really done some interesting things with this Alabama offense, to the point that the offense is actually taking the headlines away from what is typically a Nick Saban defense that normally garners all of the headlines. This year, it's the offense that's kind of stealing the show. Alabama's looked good, as always, but so has Ole Miss this year. And we saw this last year coming down the road, right? When Bo Wallace took over at quarterback, they weren't quite there last year, but we're like, gosh, next year could be something really interesting. And well, here we are. We're going to find out if this Ole Miss team is for real. The fact this game is at Ole Miss, gosh, if Ole Miss is ever going to beat Alabama, this is the year to do it. It really is. They're going to have the atmosphere on their side. They've got an experienced quarterback. They've got a really tough defense. And T.J. Yeldon, actually, for Alabama, isn't even leading the team in rushing. They've got a triple threat in the backfield. So you've got to think that if Ole Miss can put together a complete game, they can win this game. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing, though. Alabama's Alabama. And until this season, until they do something to make me think otherwise, you have to lean Alabama in this game. But my gosh, my head says Alabama, my heart says Ole Miss. I want nothing more than Ole Miss to win this football game, just so that the SEC West becomes just as chaotic as the SEC East is right now, where it is legitimately possible that a team with a loss at home to Indiana could win the division. That's on the table now after Missouri beating South Carolina last weekend. Right. I want nothing more than the SEC West to just be a complete cluster like the SEC East is. So, heart says Ole Miss, head says Alabama. Nick Saban will probably find a way to win this football game. But my gosh, go Rebels! I'm really pulling for Ole Miss in this one.
I am a tailgating freak, and I would love to tailgate in the Grove some point, just regardless. But this weekend would be spectacular weekend to do that. There's a number I came across that is gonna influence the direction I take with this. You can take a look at numbers all across the board. Alabama is the top 20 performance, passing yards, rushing yards, points scored so far, and a typically solid Alabama defense, 9th in the country for defensive scoring, the points that they give up. The number that is striking, 3rd in the country. In terms of the points they've given up, 8 points a game. That is Ole Miss. Granted, it's not against Alabama competition, but we spent a lot of time talking about Ole Miss last year. Something that you and I both found this program intriguing, and as you mentioned, this is like last year's like, ooh, you are on the precipice. If someone's going to beat Alabama, it's got to happen soon, because if you've been paying attention, you've seen the Crimson Tide get better every week. A September game on the road is when Alabama's ripe for the picking. And as I often do, my head and my heart probably are telling me the same things that your head and your heart are telling you. As I often do, I'm going with my heart, and I think this is a game that Ole Miss can win at home, and that's the direction that I'm going to take. Picking this game, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. If nothing else, it's nice to have a really solid game at 3:30 again. Like this will be must-see SEC television again. It's going to be a great start to the day.
Mm-hmm. We have, speaking of defense, good Lord, we have number 14 Stanford pulling into South Bend and playing at number 9 Notre Dame. This game, Las Vegas says, Las Vegas doesn't know. Las Vegas says this is a pick 'em. Carla, which way are you picking them?
Gosh, two teams that you can't get a read on, right? Stanford has not been impressive, period, this season. They've just not put together a complete game all season. They lost a game that they probably should have won against USC. Statistically, they won the game everywhere other than the actual points scored. And last week, we knew Washington was going to give Stanford a game, and they did. And Stanford just never, they just never put that game away. And it was close the entire game. Right. Notre Dame, meanwhile, they've looked good so far this year. Not quite as good last week against Syracuse, but gosh, they looked good against Michigan. But of course, now what can you say about Michigan with all that mess that's going on up in Ann Arbor right now?
Yeah, that's not a game you want. That's not a game you want to make a solid judgment on.
No. And at the time, we're like, whoa, that's kind of intriguing. And now you're like, not really, because Michigan's just a disaster. The thing that's interesting, and I know it's only Tuesday night when we're recording this show, but a quick look at this game says that there's a 70% chance of rain in this game. And I hate making predictions on games based on weather forecasts, but the team that can run the ball and or stop the run will win this football game, because the passing games are going to be null and void if it does rain. In that case, I looked up rushing numbers. That was the only thing I looked up to judge these two teams. Rushing offense, Notre Dame is 38th, Stanford is 48th on rushing offense. Defensively, Notre Dame is 11th, Stanford is 5th. Okay. Because of that statistic, Stanford needs a big win. I think Stanford finds a way to win this football game. If it does rain and it requires a running attack to pull off a win. But gosh, going into South Bend on a Saturday night is tough. But Stanford needs a signature win. Of course, you could say the same thing for Notre Dame. But I think Stanford will find a way to win this. Okay.
I wondered about the possibility of weather and what kind of impact it would have. I am mostly looking at I get stuck on defense. Stanford, in terms of points given up, is the best defense in the country. Notre Dame is top 5. I think I wrote down 4th. What I come up with, I plug that into my analysis. I also factor in the fact that it's in South Bend and the leprechauns and all of that crap that happens when you play at Notre Dame. And I have Notre Dame winning this game 5-2. The score may not be accurate. But I think Notre Dame is gonna win a beastly, physical, low-scoring game.
Which game has more points scored in it, the Notre Dame Stanford game or the NL wildcard game on Wednesday night?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me about the SEC game. That one I can answer.
No.
That's. I'm going to punt like Las Vegas did for Stanford Notre Dame. Pick 'em. I have no idea. I don't have a clue.
The Stanford Notre Dame score is going to read like a baseball score. I think you're absolutely right on that.
Hopefully this game, our third game, will be a bit more interesting. I think probably it will be. It's a Saturday night game. Number 19 Nebraska visits number 10 Michigan State. Hey, it's a Big Ten game that means something, and it's a Big Ten game that the Big Ten can't lose. I don't. This is a nice thing. Michigan State is an 8-point favorite. And as we said, of course, this game is in East Lansing, which recently has become a tough place to play. We've got undefeated Nebraska going into East Lansing. What do you see happening?
It's really nice of the Big Ten to play their championship game on the first weekend of October. That really helps.
This would only happen to the Big Ten, of course.
Yeah. That guaranteed, almost guaranteed, these two teams are going to meet again in a dome, which still stinks. By the way, Big Ten, we've got to fix that. We can't play the championship game in a dome. We go on that rant every year.
Soldier Field.
Yes, Soldier Field, absolutely. Anyhow. Nebraska's 5-0, right? 9-4. Bo Pelini has this team at 5-0, which means what they're going to go 4-4 the rest of the year. Here's the thing with Nebraska. This is their last real test of the entire season, other than Wisconsin. If you look at their schedule after this, this is their last significant game. I mean, who else in the SEC or who else in the Big Ten West is going to beat them, other than Wisconsin? If Nebraska can find a way to win this game, there's a serious shot they run the table into the Big Ten championship game. That is a legitimate thing, which is, I know, shocking to think about with a Bo Pelini team, that they could actually have fewer than 4 losses. But they've got a good running back in Amir Abdullah.
Right.
He's already up over 800 yards on the season. But here's the thing: Michigan State plays defense, and they're only allowing they're one of the top defenses against the run in the nation, and they're only allowing about a little less than 3 yards per carry. And when Nebraska is almost one-dimensional on offense, that's a tough thing to come in against, especially on the road. The other thing is thinking about where Michigan State is at this point. They have a loss so far this season. Yes, it was against Oregon. It's not a conference loss, but if they want any chance at all of trying to get into the playoff, they can't lose this game.
Right.
Because the playoff's not going to take a 2-loss Big Ten team with how down the Big Ten is this year. So Michigan has a heck of a lot, and it's weird to say this, but Michigan State has a heck of a lot more to play for in this game than Nebraska does. Because if Nebraska loses this game, odds are likely they'll get to see them again in the Big Ten title game either way, and they would still have a shot to go to the playoff. Michigan State, this is do or die. If they lose this game, they're done. They might get a trip to the Rose Bowl. Playing at home, Michigan State will win the game. This definitely has the potential of not being a baseball score. Both these offenses are pretty stellar. Michigan State's the 3rd best scoring offense in the country right now, with a Nebraska team that likes to run the football. So I think this is going to be it's actually going to be one of the few entertaining games left on the Big Ten schedule. I hate to say that, but other than the rivalries when you love those. But
right.
But yeah, no, I think Michigan State will win this game because they have to, and they're playing at home.
Okay. The rushing offense for Nebraska is beastly. Abdullah's averaging over 200 yards rushing a game, just by himself. That's not a team average, and that goes squarely against Michigan State's strength, and it's in its rushing defense. You talked about it. I'm struck. I'm kind of making a comparison between Ole Miss last year and Ole Miss this year, and I wonder if Nebraska is kind of in a position that Ole Miss was a year ago. And this is something that's going to help Michigan State a lot. Obviously, playing at home, that's an advantage. But this is a team that now is experienced with this. They played well against a rival. They've got that one figured out. They got over the hump last year. Winning the conference championship, winning a BCS game to wrap up the season. They're a year ahead, at least a year ahead, of where Nebraska is in terms of this kind of big game big stuff on the line experience, and that's going to make a difference for the Spartans. I would probably say that even if this game was being played in Lincoln. Nebraska is solid, and Coach Pelini's start has been spectacular. But they are a year away. They are a year behind where Michigan State is, and Michigan State is going to win this one at home. 8 points. That's probably about right. We will see how that goes. Carla, I'm having a hard time actually coming up with a game for you to pick. Now, and I'm curious about this one. Obviously for personal reasons. Obviously, I'm curious because Las Vegas. This is not a pick'em game. This is just a game that is there is no point spread for. And I'm not sure exactly why that is. My Buckeyes traveled to Maryland for the first time to welcome the Maryland into the Big Ten. I've seen predictions of this game, anywhere from Ohio State winning by a couple touchdowns to something that's under a touchdown spread. Is this a tougher game than I'm going to be comfortable with on Saturday?
Just with doing no research whatsoever on this, I don't think so. And Maryland has looked good. Yeah. But they haven't faced anybody to the caliber of Ohio State. And yes, I know Ohio State's been kind of up and down and on the roller coaster this year, but they seem to have put it together in the last couple weeks. That was a nice win against Cincinnati. Yeah. Cincinnati's a good football team, and Ohio State just kind of closed the door and looked good.
Eventually.
No, I think this. Yeah, it did take a while. It did. My biggest fear would be that if Maryland is up by more than 2 scores at half.
Okay.
I think Ohio State has a reason to, because of that lack of being able to really close a game in a timely fashion, games that they should win. And that's what happened against Virginia, right? I think if Maryland is up by a couple scores at the half, I think you have a reason to kind of be biting your nails a little bit. But no, I think if they're within a score at the half, I think Ohio State will win. This isn't at the NFL stadium, is it? It's on campus.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it's on campus. Then I think Ohio State will win this game. It's probably gonna be another one of those this should have been a much bigger win than it was. But with Ohio State this year, a win is a win.
That doesn't help me, Carl.
You're gonna win the football game. You're gonna win. Maryland.
I want to be able to relax while I'm watching this football game.
Well, and I hate my Nittany Lions lost to Northwestern.
Yeah, I know, and this is something that's in the back of my mind. This is in the back of my mind.
Yeah, I just don't think any game in the Big Ten this year is going to be something that anybody can relax about. We laughed when Maryland and Rutgers came into the league, and who's sitting atop the Big Ten East standings right now.
Right. I know.
Right.
Hopefully that's something. Hopefully that's something we can fix here in the next couple weeks or two. I think that's all we have for week number 6. Carla, thank you very much.
Thank you as always.
Enjoy the baseball tomorrow. Let's go.
I will. You too. Let's go Bucks.
These Bucks. Let's go these Bucks. And thank you guys for watching. We will see you again for week 7 back here in a little bit. You guys have a good night.